because that might be a little bit better. I tell you what we're going to do. Let's hope that we got that figured out, and I appreciate Rock for joining us. We're going to start it over again since we're going to get going. So we'll start at the 6:30 mark at the beginning of the show. So welcome. Like to welcome y'all into Scout's Eye on College Football. And since we had some technical difficulties there, we're going to start it over from scratch. And as we said, we appreciate you all joining us. You know the drill of what we do. We try to take you inside the game of college football here on this show. What happened during the course of the weekend? Maybe a look ahead to next week. Definite look ahead to next weekend. So we're going to get to all of that. Reminder that you can get the detailed film room breakdowns of all the games from all the teams and all the conferences over at LandryFootball.com. So take advantage of it today. At LandryFootball.com, the football season sale. So it was obviously a really good weekend. We want to get your thoughts. We want to get your questions over in the chat room now that hopefully you can hear us. So do that as well. We want to hear your concerns, your questions about your teams or what have you. As I was saying as we started this, I want to take a look at a number of things kind of as they unfolded during the course of Saturday. What really happened? What really took place in these games? And I'm going to start with Alabama, Florida, as that's the game that's got everybody both excited, bewildered, wondering if the world's coming to an end or if things are drastically changing. And look, it's a game, and very clearly, it's a game of understanding complementary football, understanding how games can change on a dime. And I want to use this as an example. And I'm going to get into it probably on the Landry Football Podcast, a couple of things that maybe are misunderstood a little bit about complementary ball. And I say that a bunch. Complementary football is just that, where the offense complements the defense. Your defense is going to struggle regardless how much talent and how good they are, if they're on the field too much through the course of the game, or if they're on the field in short intervals. So I'm going to take you back to the beginning of the game. Alabama's up 21-3. Got control of the game. Florida can't stop. They can't tackle. Alabama's running the football well. There's some good pace. There's some good rhythm. Alabama goes 3 and out, 3 offensive trips. Now, keep in mind, if you're able to, in those 3 drives, if you're only able to get, say, 6 points total, 3 points total, but you're able to work 4 minutes, 4.5 minutes, 5 minutes on each of those drives, this game is basically put away because you prevent any development of rhythm for a Florida offense. And they never quite get on track. But because you can't get off the field you can't stay on the field offensively, you get Florida chances. And you give them a chance to develop momentum, in which they did. So now you've got a defense that's been playing good for the first few series. All of a sudden, boom, they're back on the field, and Florida finds a little rhythm. Florida finds a little rhythm. And again, no, they weren't blowing Alabama off the football. What they were doing is they were angling Alabama off the ball. They were really doing a good job with formations. They had 5 drives of 75 yards or more. Those were real issues. So now the defense is on the field and getting worn down. Big problem. So you're not able to answer things on offense. Your defense is back on the field again. Well, all of a sudden it's, your defense is not good. No, the defense didn't play well. But your offense didn't take care of itself either, because you've got to be able to sustain drive. So there are a couple of things that jumped out at me for Alabama in the game. The takeaways. First of all, offensively, they didn't run the football enough or well enough in both cases, particularly when they had a lead. Got to be able to do that. You got to be able to impose your will. They were not able to do that. They were a little bit too enamored with the pass game after that. And defensively, there's no doubt there were assignment areas. There was conflict of assignment that Florida was throwing at them. A lot of different angles, a lot of different formations. Say, well, didn't make adjustments. Alabama made adjustments the entire game. They were out of position the whole time because of what Florida was constantly doing. They were constantly going by different formation looks. They was going a little quick, and they were doing a good job of working different angles and moving guys. So wherever Alabama was moving and flowing to, Florida was cutting opposite of it. So it was forcing a lot of mental errors by Alabama. So, they weren't really prepared for it. Well, Florida did a lot of things that caused a lot of problems. Emory Jones was outstanding. You see why Dan Mullen believed in him? Because what he could bring to the running game. What did I talk about in the preview in the SEC show? I talked about how Florida was going to force Alabama to defend an extra gap. They did. They put a lot of pressure on them. So now you've got more issues with trying to be able to defend the run, and it creates some opportunities in the passing game. I don't think there was much there. Dan Mullen, as a play designer and a play caller, was outstanding. They out-rushed Bama 245-91. Impressive performance. Florida deserves a lot of credit. Alabama, again, two things. The offense didn't complement the defense by being able to stay on the field, and all those 3 and outs are a problem, and put your defense right back on the field. Your defense is gassed, and there's a cumulative effect to where eventually you're not going to be able to stop them. And that's what happened. Defensively, there was certainly some problems. Look, they are going to – I've said also that Alabama's toughest defensive challenges are going to be against the Florida and the Ole Miss type offenses. Ole Miss's offense is going to give Alabama more difficulty. Now, will Alabama be better prepared? Will Alabama be able to control the game offensively more? That's going to be the key. If Alabama beats Ole Miss, they're going to have to do it by running the football on Ole Miss's defense and keeping the ball away from Ole Miss's offense as much as possible. They're going to have to slow down the tempo, because this Alabama team cannot win a shootout game against Ole Miss like they did last year. This Alabama team is different. It can be really good, but it's different. They have to be more patient with the run game. They don't have as many explosive weapons as they did before. Hell, the only team's got more weapons is the Kansas City Chiefs. All those weapons are in the NFL now for Alabama. So they're going to have to play it differently. And I think, they're going to have to figure that out going forward. So I don't think the world is ending. But I thought the defense really struggled adjusting to the formations, the motions, the blocking angles. It's a different team. I think the other thing that looking at my film grade notes on the game, and you can check out LandryFootball.com, is I thought that the opposing defensive line movement, we've seen this in a couple of weeks, but mainly this week, is given some of the Alabama offensive line issues a problem. So the stemming of the front, the movement pre-snap is hurting some of the young guys, and that's just experience. The defensive tackling was not good. But a lot of it is they weren't bringing their legs because their legs were gassed. That was the big thing that jumped out at me. Defensive line was not disciplined enough with gap integrity. So there's some real issues, no question about it. So those are some of the things that jumped out at me in that game. and I thought were significant in the approach of that game. I see Rock has asked a couple questions, and Blake is joined us. Blake Robinson, appreciate you. Where have you been, my friend? We've missed you, and I will get to the punt return and the Mississippi State Memphis game. We're going to get to in the mailbag segment towards the end of the show. The other game that I wanted to make mention to, want to get to now, is the Auburn game. Auburn Penn State. I thought it was a well-played game. It went very much like I thought it would. I thought Penn State had maybe a few more things going for it in the game, but I thought Auburn performed well. The defense of Auburn struggled to defend explosive plays of Penn State that we talked about, that Wisconsin had trouble with, Auburn struggled with. The running game is very good. The offensive line for Auburn, they come off the ball better than they've had in the past. They're much better coached. Now, the Derek Mason's defense had 4 breakdowns, which is concerning. Now, that's a lot of what Derek wants to do in putting his defense in. He believes in a lot of changes, a lot of different looks, and that was a big part of it. It was a big part of the big plays that Penn State had were huge. Defensively, it just gave too much in the passing game. Look, Bo Nix, that's going to be the talk. He didn't make the mistake that cost him, but he didn't also make the plays that were enough for them to win. The officiating was atrocious in the game, embarrassing, quite frankly. A few people have asked and questioned about the play call near the end. The question in the fade route. That wasn't a fade route. That was a rub route. And I even heard somebody today, I think it was Neuheisel, mentioned on that it was a fade route and he should have gone over the middle. Sorry, but he obviously didn't look at the tape, or he's missed something. It's very clear to me. When I watched it on TV, I saw it. It was before I even looked at the film of it. It was a rub route. So that route was designed where the ball went to. That's not where the ball was supposed to go. That route was run exactly like it was supposed to. It was a slot receiver that was supposed to come free and cross the face of the defender, and he didn't do it. And so, therefore, Bo Nix has got no place to go with the football. There wasn't an option over the middle, and obviously, the best thing he did is throw it up, see if he can get an interference call, because that slot was supposed to come out. That would have been – so that's a dumb call. He said it on the telecast, dumb call. I don't know about the call, or whatever they said. Wasn't a bad call. It was poorly executed. Not letting coaches off the hook, because I've been a coach, but oftentimes when people thought, the fade routes, bad. No, fade routes are good and very effective, but also how you play with it. You create that one-on-one matchup. You've got to have enough space to be able to drop the ball in, but you've got to have an alternative route underneath, and they did. Didn't execute. No. Why wasn't it executed? That's a fair question and a good one, but that's the story of that. I think that Auburn takes this game. What I think of this Auburn team, I think it's a good team. I think they'll be competitive. I think you better play well to beat them. They're not a type of team that is you take lightly ever. This is a well-coached team. They will be fundamentally sound. They will do things right. I know we just talked about a play that didn't. Those things, not perfect, but I thought this team played well, and the key long term is what they're able to do from a recruiting standpoint, explosive play standpoint. So I think there's a couple of things there. A few other things I want to get to, just kind of nationally, and I'm going to go kind of in the order of as the games came off the board, as I tend to like to do that, because as I kind of have my notes or thoughts as I'm watching it, it comes back to me. I watched the game against Cincinnati at Indiana. That the monitor one was Oklahoma, Nebraska. Quickly on that, what I saw is Nebraska playing a lot of too high, too deep safety, split safeties, and Oklahoma was frustrated trying to get their explosive plays. They weren't committed to the run well enough, early enough. I thought they were able to run the football better. I thought Oklahoma played better defensively, but against a Nebraska offense that doesn't have a lot of weapons. I was impressed by Nebraska's defensive effort. I thought they did a good job playing their split safeties and forcing Oklahoma to go the distance. But my goodness, what a disaster Nebraska's special teams are. It's killing them beyond, they're leaving points. They're getting points taken off, and it's just literally costing them chances to win a game. And I think much better chance to win that game. Obviously, maybe win that game against Oklahoma if they're able to play, just not fall apart on special teams. Just can't cover kicks, can't do that. But, man, getting 2 field goals missed, a PAT blocked and return for 2. That's a 3-point turnaround right there. You got 9 points there, just off of basic, making a 2-foot putt. It's just things that should not happen. Cincinnati, boy, were they sleepwalking early. Man, were they sloppy. Did they play poor football? But you saw that Indiana's, I thought, would struggle to get enough done out of the passing game, and Cincinnati was able to come back and take care of business. Look, I am impressed with this West Virginia team is doing. I am excited about WVU and Oklahoma this week. It's one of the intriguing games that I'm looking forward to. That's kind of a highlight. It's one of my feature games that I'll probably will do up on Landry Football this week. They are playing pretty good defensively, and they are getting it done. Doji's playing pretty well. They're running the ball well. Virginia Tech fought back a little bit, but, boy, they are not getting it done offensively, and that's a big-time struggle at Virginia Tech. Mel Tucker's continuing to do a really good job on at Michigan State. What an impressive job. Miami's not good at all. They really are not good. They're not well coached. Mel's got a tough-minded team. This is a perfect example, though, of a lot of players that came back that due to COVID, and they came back. This is a team that's coming together. That's a lot of guys came back for the right reason, and you see it playing out on the field. So I was very impressed with them. Michigan, listen, I watched it. They dominated Northern Illinois. I'm very curious to see a little step up. Rutgers, well coached. Not a great team, but I want to see what they do against Rutgers. Can they put the hammer down on Rutgers this week? They're running the football well. They're playing really good defense. Do they have enough in the passing game to beat the big boys? We're going to see them up against Wisconsin in a few weeks. A lot of good football to determine there. Impressive in Minnesota, basically dominating and shutting down Colorado. Texas A&M offensive line did not play very well against New Mexico. Disappointing there. Zach Calzado did. So those are some initial thoughts. And Notre Dame taking care of business against Purdue. We went over Alabama, Florida in detail. Really, all the talk about Ohio State's defense. Basically had their secondary coach calling the defense this past week. They are not playing well on that side of the ball. But I got to tell you, that offensive line that I touted as the most physically gifted in the country is not blocking well. Tulsa was able to get some pressure on them. Not impressive at all. Georgia Tech, Clemson. Look, it was a long weather delay, and I get all of that. Clemson's they can't find their rear end with both hands on offense right now. USC responded big time. Dante Williams coming in really impressed with what Duke was able to do against Northwestern. Mississippi State, Memphis. The storyline of the game was the awful officiating there, and it was costly. And I think it probably cost Mississippi State the game. There's not much to say about it other than it was wrong, it was messed up, and you got to get that corrected. We got some questions in the mailbag. I'll get to that in a little bit. But I want to put that aside and say, this is a Mississippi State team that it always concerns me with Mike because, okay, you that team didn't play well offensively. They didn't have a lot of answers offensively. I thought Memphis did a really good job frustrating them a little bit, and I think this Mississippi State defense is playing pretty good, and it's the offense that's hurting them. And I know they win the game if that call doesn't go their way. But quite frankly, now they've been outplayed twice. Louisiana Tech and Memphis has. It's what concerns me about them. And look, who's to think that they may not explode on LSU again this week? You don't know what you get there. There's inconsistency there, as I've always said and concerned about with Mike's teams. Florida State's a mess. There's no doubt about it. I thought Wake would hand them their lunch, and they did. The only issue there at Florida State is, have they lost the locker room? Because the previous coach did. And if they lose the locker room, then that's a different situation altogether. I don't think it's going to make any sense to pull the trigger on a second coach after 2 years because you're not getting better. You're not going to get a better coach or a better fit. And, in my mind, I think you're biting off a whole lot of money for the second time. And I do think there's reason to believe that there's light at the end of the tunnel, whereas in the previous regime, that light was a freight train coming at you. I know there's going to be a lot of talk. Well, you fired Willie for the same thing. You should be doing it here. I don't agree. I think the situations are different, even though Willie Taggart had a better record at the same juncture as Mike Norvell. How much of that is what Mike inherited, though, as opposed to Willie? Food for thought. Don't know. You could do it, but I think how it looks matters as much. You've heard me talk about. Get to the afternoon games in a second, but I want to tell you about my good friends at BetDSI. Looking for a place to bet on NFL and NCAA football? BetDSI is an industry leader in football betting and the perfect sports book for both the novice and the professional bettors alike. At BetDSI, you can also enjoy live in-game betting. You can bet your favorite teams all game long, including props on nearly every play to the final whistle. NFL and college football is right here, as you know it, right in the middle of the season. BetDSI.com has been paying winners for 20 years. 10,000 plus betting options daily on all the sports you love to watch. Live casino, daily fantasy, top rated on betting review sites. Use your sports and pop culture knowledge to make some extra cash this week. BetDSI has a very user-friendly interface and mobile site. BetDSI has the fastest payouts in the industry. Simply play, win, and get paid. BetDSI offers betting options for everything. Bet on the NFL, college football, when NBA gets started, NHL, UFC, golf, got the Ryder Cup this week, and all other major sports, politics, reality TV, exports, virtually everything. Try live betting at BetDSI, where you can bet on every major sport, the entire game, every play, and every minute. New members get a 100% bonus match. Yes, listen to that. New members get 100% bonus match using the promo code Landry, all caps, LANDRY 100. That's LANDRY 100. That's more than double your money to start winning today. I play there myself, recommend BetDSI if you want to add some excitement to the sports you love or any other sports you're watching. Once again, go to BetDSI and use the promo code Landry100 and get this limited time 100% bonus offer to make some extra cash on the sports you know and love. Use Bitcoin and get 100% deposit bonus on your first 2 deposits up to $2,000. It's only a game until you bet at BetDSI. So we get into the nighttime action. In the Auburn-Penn State game we went over, that was on Monitor 1. I was looking closely at South Carolina, Georgia, which I didn't think was going to be a very good game. I think that South Carolina is going to have a hard time matching up in a lot of their games. And I think this Georgia team is playing well. It's going to be fun. Georgia doesn't have a real competitive game until they get Florida on the schedule. But JT Daniels played well. I thought they spread the ball around very well. Got the detailed breakdowns again over at Landry Football, so check that out. But I think South Carolina is going to struggle a good bit. North Carolina rebounded, put a bunch of points on Virginia. Virginia played pretty well in their own right. Stanford once again played pretty well, beat Vanderbilt. LSU played better this week against Central Michigan. They should have. Ole Miss was outstanding. Huge rain delay there. The Ole Miss offense is really good. Tulane played well. Oklahoma State got a bad call against them in the Boise game. And then how about BYU in the late night? BYU, they've beaten now Arizona State this past week. They've beaten Arizona, of course, and then, of course, Fresno State beating UCLA. I don't know how many of you had a chance to watch that game, but that was one you could almost see coming as well. Some potential issues going forward. The Pac-12, you look at it, and it's pretty clear that outside of Oregon, and we don't know that Oregon's great, I think one of those things that you look at and say, is Oregon the best of a pretty mediocre league? I mean, that was a great opportunity for UCLA, and you wonder how much of a threat they are in the South, and what does that do in the South? You got USC, you got UCLA, you got Arizona State, you got Utah. They're all, well, Utah's really struggling. We know that USC was struggling. Can they rebound? UCLA hasn't lost a conference game. Arizona State lost, but not a conference game. So a lot of football, but it doesn't look like we've got anybody that's a national contender outside the Pac-12, in the Pac-12, other than Oregon. Who's better? Georgia's defense, Ole Miss's offense? It's too early, I know, but I get asked that a bunch, and so I thought that was an interesting thing. How does it look nationally inside the film room right now? I see a lot of good. I don't see much great. I see a few things. First of all, people will be down on Alabama because they didn't win big. I see flaws in how Alabama played in the game. I see how they can get better, but I think they're right there. I think Georgia has been consistently good, and the offense, while not good against Clemson, it's good defense, and I think they're still shorthanded in the passing game in terms of weapons. But you see a lot of guys, I look at them and say, this team could be pretty good. Are they going to be able to do much with the quarterback in the run game? No, that's not what they do, and I don't see that being a factor in their favor. But I would probably put Georgia, maybe one ahead of Alabama this week. I think there are question marks about everybody. I think Oregon's good. I'd probably put them third. Oklahoma was not all that impressive against Nebraska, but got it done. And let me just say this. I mentioned earlier, Oklahoma showed some patience and commitment to the running game in the second half. Oklahoma, folks, has, when people are going to play split safeties, make them go the length of the field, run the damn football. And run it well. It's not just you got to try. Well, we ran it a bunch. They got to teach the running game and work the running game better. If they can't, then they're not going to do anything come playoff time, because you can't outscore everybody all the time. And when you have a lead, and if your defense is going to be good enough, and you want to know if Oklahoma's defense can be good enough to do it, the issue is what I just talked about, even when talking about Alabama. And Alabama's got a much better defense and better defensive personnel than Oklahoma. But what's important, you can't be up and down the field and have your defense on the field for 85 snaps a game. I don't give a damn how many 5-stars you have. Your defense will look like it's on skates. I don't think people understand that. So Playing complementary ball is something that Lincoln Riley's got to figure out. Penn State's good team. Can they go through the gauntlet? Can they make enough big plays against an Iowa's defense? Can defensively, they're playing pretty well. Can they hold Iowa down? I think they can. But that's a game where that's going to test their coaching, which, Iowa's really, really good there. This week, Notre Dame, Wisconsin, highlights I mentioned, West Virginia, Oklahoma, Arkansas A&M. What's going to go on in the Landry Lab is in the first window, I'll have Notre Dame, Wisconsin, LSU, Mississippi State, Missouri, BC, Texas Tech, Texas, Coastal Carolina, Miami. I will have Georgia, Vandy, Boise, Utah State. I'll keep my eye out on how Penn State's doing against Villanova, and not a whole lot there that's going to tell me a lot. In the second window, Arkansas A&M, Clemson, NC State's interesting. NC State, tough week against Mississippi State last week, rebounded. Rutgers, Michigan intrigues me. Iowa State, Baylor. Louisville, Florida State's playing. I kind of see that. Colorado State, Iowa, not so much. Illinois, Purdue. Then the nighttime window, early evening window, it is West Virginia, Oklahoma, Tennessee, Florida. And I'm just curious to see Florida off a big game, Tennessee with their offense. Florida sometimes miss tackles. I don't think Tennessee should challenge Florida. But one of the things about Florida, and we remember how good Florida looked last year, and then just can't get it out of my head. The shoe game against LSU and the collapse at the end of the year. This is a game that you've got to look. No one will admit this, but Florida fans, Florida folks, they're two types this week. One that are really pleased that their team came that close to beating Alabama, and the other ones are the ones that feel good about their team almost beating Alabama, but don't want to admit it. Because I think most thought that it was going to be a blowout. So I'm curious to see how Florida plays against Tennessee this week. It's a game Florida should win going away. If you like the whole betting thing, it's a 20-21 point margin. It doesn't really matter unless you're playing that game, of course. But how does Florida maintain their consistency? They build off of what was, I thought, a really good performance. Kentucky, South Carolina. I stand by what I say against South Carolina. Kentucky did not play well. Boy, I'm going to get into that a little bit more in SEC football and beyond next hour. North Carolina, Georgia Tech. West Virginia, Oklahoma really intrigues me, though, there. UAB, Tulane, Southern Miss, Alabama, I'll keep an eye out on as well. And then late night, South Florida's not done much of anything. BYU's has a chance to have a special year. Arizona is awful. Oregon's going to do whatever they want to do there. Curious to see Colorado, Arizona State. And I expect Ohio State, USC to play well and beat Oregon State. So those are some of my thoughts. But I haven't decided yet. I think I'm going to do feature games on Landry Football. Remember, all the games are broken down inside the film room by conference. But I'm going to do Arkansas A&M, Notre Dame, Wisconsin, West Virginia, Oklahoma. Those are three that I'm definitely going to do as the feature games outside of just every breakdown of all the games. Let's go inside the mailbag and let's see what you've got to say. and what you've got to ask here. Appreciate you coming along with us as I make some notations of to-do. So let's get to it. Let's see here. We find it out here. Rock Westfall says, Pitt, is the gravity of the program, is it Narducci or is it both? Had Wannstedt survived, would it have even been better? It's recruiting, though not great. Look, that's a tough loss to Western Michigan. There's no way to spin it. Look, there's a belief that that program can be really good because I've seen it when it's been really good. When they were independent in the 70s, they were great. Back, if you study college football history, Pitt, won, 7 national titles back in the day in the 30s, but recently in the 70s, in early 80s, they did. That's a place that should win more because mainly in the ACC, you've got winnable games. I think they've lost a little of their recruiting identity. I think it hurts them when they're not playing against Penn State. They're not playing against the Northeast teams. I think they have a hard time. I think that they recruit okay. They don't recruit well. I think there's not that identity as much playing ACC teams as it is maybe playing teams that I think Penn State does a better job of being able to sell the Big Ten than Pitt can with the ACC. And look, there was a point in time, and I used to love it. That was another one of those Thanksgiving week games, Pitt, Penn State. Both those teams were great. And I can remember when that was a lot at stake nationally. Penn State, even when they're down, is the program and the stature is better. I don't know where you go there. I'm disappointed for Pat. It's a tough job. I think you got to get somebody that can recruit well, but also somebody that can develop. I'm really disappointed because I think the quarterback's good. I think they've put good players and they've developed some good players, but they've not been able to consistently get it done there. K-State with Gutty, Neanderthal ball with second-string quarterback looking good. Yes, they love what Chris does. I didn't give them a great deal of chance when Skylar Thompson went down, but they know how to shorten a game, and they're physical, and they do a really, really good job. Blake can't tell you how good it is to have you back with us. Hope that you are with us. And I know you're a big SEC fan. Join us at the top of the hour. We go SEC. Did you see the punt return at Memphis? I went into that. Sure you got that. Spartan Barton, do you have any idea on how to improve SEC officiating? Look, I want to give the short answer. It's not about SEC officiating. It's officiating. I've said it before and I'll say it again. The best way to correct officiating is universally correct it. Pro, college, better training. Let me say this in defense of officials. There's some things that, like losing a down in the Penn State-Auburn game, is unacceptable. But let me explain something to you. What is different now is we see the game. We consume the game differently. We see it on TV from 18 different angles. We see how in the hell they could miss that. I don't know how many of you have been on the field during the game, trying to see what's happening. Have you ever driven down the highway and had a deer come across or any animal like that real quick? You don't have time to react to anything. You don't even know what the hell you're looking at. You just think it's a deer. You don't know what it, you just instinctively, that's what it's like on the football field. It is not physically realistic in live action to be able to see certain things, which is why, since we have and will embrace technology from a viewing standpoint, we have to embrace it and utilize it better, the technology, from an officiating standpoint. University, college, NFL. The game is going to eventually have to go into the booth where you don't stop the game and have some guy come look under a hood, but you have somebody with the communication with, and I don't think you should have SEC officials or Pac-12 officials. It should be college football officials, period. Get the best, and if you want to assign them regionally because they live in, that's fine. I think there's a lot at stake here, and I think getting the best training, paying them well, but also using the technology. So you can have in a central office as well as at the stadium the technology to see the game in live action. So you see something, you easily communicate, and if you have to stop the game, you do. But for the most part, you give it. No, it wasn't interference. No, it wasn't a fumble. Yes, it was a catch. First down, 45. Let's go. You don't stop the action. The game would move quicker, but you would get it correct. Now, you would then have to have a way to communicate it with it for people in the stands and over the TV audience. They wouldn't know what the hell's going on. No, it is not grounding. It is not targeting. It is not. Now, targeting is a different issue. If you're going to legislate targeting, you have to take out. Kids should not be thrown out of the game unless they're launching with the clear intent to hurt. You do that, you should be eliminated from the game, and quite frankly, you should be suspended. You could suspend them for 3 games. I don't care if you're doing that. And it's clear. If it's not, and it's usually not, throwing them out of the game is to me, penalize it, but they shouldn't be eliminated from the game. But that until we move the game from in the booth, we're not going to get the calls correct, and we're not going to get them done quicker until we move the game up in the booth. I think people say, well, they are in the booth. No. It's not. It's done on the field with the use of the booth. It needs to be done in the booth, down on the field. And the guys down on the field need to regulate, control the game, and to see things that you can only see in focus that's going to be blocked out or muted by the camera. That's what they focus on, because the speed of the game, I'm telling you, you can't do it. Let me tell you something. I look at film for a living, and I look at it, and I see live. Well, that's holding. Go back and look. No, it's not. But on live action, I saw it. Hell, I look at 2 or 3 angles. No, it's not. It's not what I thought. If I'm seeing that in slowed down motion, how the hell are you going to see it? On live action, the first run? Hell no. I can't see it, and neither can you. You only know it once you see it and you get exposed to it and it gets blown up. It is. I'm not taking up for them, because when they make mistakes that are clearly egregious, like in terms of application errors, that's unacceptable. But to say, I can't believe you didn't see it, I know exactly why they didn't see it, because nobody can see it that fast in most cases. That's my thoughts on it. Did Nebraska really up their game, or is Oklahoma way overrated? I think I went over the Nebraska game pretty well. Nebraska played a lot of 2-deep coverage, and Oklahoma didn't play well. Nebraska played awful in special teams and made tons of mistakes there. The targeting call from Indiana was ridiculous. It cost them the game with that ejection. Well, I don't know. It certainly was a part of it. The ref was the highlight in week 3 in college football. I think it certainly was a big factor. Is Penn State as good as the media making them out to be? I have Auburn as the 10th team in the SEC. Auburn's not the 10th best team in the SEC. But who's really good? Who's really good? I mean, you can put who's really good. Alabama, Georgia's good. Oregon, good. You don't like Oklahoma? That's fine. You like Iowa? You think Iowa's really all that good? Penn State? Well, who are you going to put? A&M, Cincinnati, Clemson, Ohio State, Florida. I mean, stop me when you really love the team. There's a lot of good. There's not a lot of great. Kev Belarger thinks much. Arnett's a good defenseman. Thanks. I agree that Louisiana Tech outplayed State, but on paper, State beat up Memphis. Oh, I tell you what, Blake, Mississippi State did not. Mississippi State left a lot of plays out on the field against Memphis. They didn't beat them up. I thought Louisiana Tech beat them up, but no. Mississippi State. Look, they didn't. If they beat up Memphis, then you wouldn't have to have a dumb mistake by an official cost you the game. They didn't beat up Memphis, my friend. Sorry. They didn't play that well at all. They left a lot of plays on the field. They played good defensively. They did not play well offensively. The Oklahoma-Nebraska game, I thought Martinez was the best quarterback on the field. Martinez has not been really good. The reason why Spencer Rattler struggled is Spencer Rattler was not real patient, and he has not played real well. I hope FSU does fire Norvell because he'll turn that program around, similar to the way Chip Kelly has done. Go Gators! Keep the I don't know that's. Keep forgetting you're not allowed to talk about the officiating without risking a fine. Florida, no, I'm not. I don't have to. I can talk about anything I want. The officiating is. I think I explained it. I don't know that it's that hard to understand. Kentucky favored to win at South Carolina by more than 5 points. Thank you there. We've got the odds. I know it was going to be close. I'm happy with the performance UF has had. Recruiting classes 8-15. It was close. Thought they played a good game. It'll be interesting to see if they what they can do against Georgia. I thought Florida was going to pull the upset. I didn't see it. I think this is going to be interesting to see how this develops. I want to see consistency out of Florida. I don't care who wins, but if I want to see what goes on the rest of the way is what happens with these teams. What I like to see is good football, good coaching, good playing. I want to see teams do their best. Look, I don't know what's going to happen in the rest of the way. A couple of things that are jumping out at me. I'm seeing some defenses start to get better, but the defenses are still struggling. It is overall. There's some exceptions, but they're few and far between. You've heard me talk about it. You don't hit enough, you don't tackle enough, you're not going to be good enough tackling. And those problems are existing right now. So you don't do it enough, you don't have the stamina, and I think the offensive rules are advantageous. And certainly I think that kids are afraid to hit today because if they hit, they're going to get not penalized but thrown out of the game. And then we wonder why the offenses are so far in advantage. Well, nobody plays defense. Well, how the hell are you going to play defense? It's kind of hard. It's really tough. It's not an excuse. You can't overcome it. And look, I agree with all of you that say the officiating is bad. I'm in agreement with it. What I'm trying to do is, I'm not one of these people who say the officiating is bad. Throw my hands up. I'm trying to come up with a solution. You can't, again, unless you've been there, you don't know. The officiating today it's not going to get better. If you're going to keep it on the field where they are missing all these things, it's not, a lot of it is where you got to get younger guys. Younger guys are still not going to be athletically as matched to the guys they're trying to cover. It's tough. I can't see it. And if I can't see it and I'm looking at tape over and over again and I down on the field, it's a blur. It's a blur for them. And, you get a lot of this. And I'm going to tell you the feedback. The coaches, when you hear the coaches gripe about it, well, first of all, they're trying to get an edge. But they're getting from the booth the guy saying, the coaches looking at the replay saying, oh, yeah. Well, they're basically repeating it, but that's one of the real it's one of the real problems. But the issue is officiating. It's been bad for a long time. We just know about it more because we can see it. Before replay in TV, and I don't know how many of you are old enough to know this, but before replay on TV, I remember watching games before replay. Well, the calls were bad then, I assume, but we didn't see it 2 or 3 times. Now they show it from different. Clearly missed. There was a call in the Wisconsin-Penn State game. Got it on Twitter. That's a phantom hole. When off a tight end reaches out and grabs the offensive lineman, immediately that spells hold. And you go back and look at it, he didn't have full grasp, but my goodness, you got to have a damn microscope on the right angle. Live, I said, that's clearly a hole. When I looked at it on tape, no, it really wasn't. The other thing, I'm telling you with this targeting, these guys are told, these officials are told, when they see a hit that's hard, they immediately think targeting. And a lot of times it's not. And, it's a mess. But I'm here, not that I can fix it, but those are my thoughts on how to fix it. Blake says it's been bad since the 80s, the officiating. Yeah, well, there's no question about it. There's no question about it. But, in the 80s, you started to have replay. The biggest replay that got things changed was the AFC Championship game with the Oilers and the Steelers. The Mike Renfro catch, which was a catch, but we all had to look at it 9 times to see that it was a catch. But replay was on TV, but it was not used in changing calls. But then they realized, well, if you're going to show it on TV and everybody's going to see that you're screwing it up, well, we got to use it to our advantage. Well, my point is we're going to stick our head in the sands, or we're going to use the technology to make it better. And we sure as hell don't want to stop the game and go look under a damn hood for longer and stop every play. But if you're looking at it every play in real time and you've got multiple people and you've got a crew of people in a special booth that one guy's looking at line of scrimmage, one guy's you've got all the angles and you communicate it quickly, you can officiate the game better quickly. So those are my thoughts. Hey, appreciate all of you joining us. Stick with us. Coming up in a couple of minutes, Dan Matthews and I, we're going to go through the SEC. It's SEC football and beyond. So I'm going to go through each game, game by game. Appreciate you joining us. See you in an hour and talk to you tomorrow. Tomorrow's Big Ten football and beyond at 12 noon Central, ACC football and beyond at 1 p.m., and Scouts Eye on Pro Football, 4 p.m. Exciting weekend in the NFL. So appreciate you joining us. Take care, everybody.